Good morning, Camp Zama, and welcome to our special edition for Wednesdays with Darren and Cindy, except for today is Friday, where we bring you real conversation about things that affect our lives and the community. My name is Cindy Ward,
And my name is Darren Powell.
and we are going to be your host for our podcast.
After our initial episode, we had the opportunity to interview a couple from Zama that had a very unique and amazing experience that most of you heard about in the early stages of the pandemic. Um, but I'll allow them to share their story.
Yes, today we have a special treat, a bonus episode for this week's conversation. I have the honor to introduce to you Shannon and Mike. I'm going to let them take it from here.
Cool. Hey, I'm Shannon Poe. Most of you probably know me. And
I'm Michael Van Sype.
so we were brought here with some questions. And I think looking back, we were asked at what point did we realize the situation was getting serious? I'm not sure about you. When do you think you?
I think it was right around the second when we started coming back from Okinawa
Okay.
back to Tokyo because we saw it in the news about COVID-19 and stuff like that. But when we heard somebody on the boat had it, it was like, oh, hey.
The second of what? January?
No,
February.
February.
So I'll
Of
preface
last year.
this. We were one of two families from Zama that was on the Diamond Princess that was parked outside of Yokohama for about a month, and I think the ship stayed there well into May before it was finally moved. So for me, January 25th was probably because I don't know if I relayed how serious I thought the situation was. So this was, of course, January 25th, which is well before the rest of the world got the news. We parked in Hong Kong that morning, and I was so excited to go running because running on a moving ship is, well, there's some hazards there, and so I was really stoked to go get on a treadmill, and I was on the news, and the news was on, and it was like, all travel was ceased in China because of a flu that was coming out of Wuhan, and I'm getting ready to go into Hong Kong, so I was like, well, this don't look right. So, of course, I did what I needed to do, wore my mask as always, brought extra hand sanitizers. And actually, I'm glad that I saw the news that morning because it really influenced how I conducted myself that day as well as the rest of the trip.
Okay.
I mean, I was ready to go like nuts in Hong Kong and eat at every dumpling shop, shady or not shady looking. Like that's a rickety stall? What you got?
Yeah.
6 piece? But I didn't. So I really refrained from being close to other people. I was kind of scared. And then, again, it informed the way we conducted ourselves. So when we stopped in Vietnam, at that point, the news was kind of spinning a little more. I don't know if you remember how adamant I was about like mask. And, again, trying to refrain from eating out a lot. You just going and doing the necessities when we could. And then the final stop, when I just felt like things were really starting to brew, was the next to the last stop, which was in Taipei. And again, just being in the proximity of China and not knowing like how widespread this flu was, I had like every type of hand sanitizer that one could purchase, like carrying around like box every time I sat down, like I could wipe my coffee down before I drank it. And so, by the time it hit Zama, we were already in that mode of wiping everything down and washing our hands like 80 times a day. So, but the real challenge for us was, once we, like he said, when we came back from Okinawa, by the time, I think the second was when we got to Okinawa. By then they were already starting to check temperatures when we were getting off the ship. And so like that was probably the real like smack in the face that like, oh,
it's real.
this serious.
It's
You're
real.
doing the thermal thing?
Okay.
And you want my passport? And so they cut our trip short in Okinawa. We were supposed to have like a seriously long day there, but it took so long to process every person through that thermal temperature thing. And then when we got back, we were supposed to take 2 days to get from Okinawa to Yokohama. But the captain came on and said, hey, just to be transparent, of course, this was like a week and a half later. there was a sick person on the ship. They did get off at Kagoshima, which was our first stop.
Mhm.
They did go on excursions, and they left on the 25th and got off in Hong Kong and did not come back. They went to a hospital there,
Mhm.
and we're at the request of the Japanese government, we're going to speed the ship up so that we can arrive Monday morning. Now we were supposed to disembark on Tuesday at 6 a.m.
Mhm.
Like, what's this noise? So feeling like something wasn't right.
Yeah.
Like,
We were
okay.
thinking it was just going to be a couple of day delay at port.
Actually, they told us
Yeah.
like what, 24 hours?
Yeah, they
Like,
told us 24 hours, expect to get off 24 hours after your initial departure day.
So-
So then 24 hours later, they told us expect 14 days. So it was
Yeah,
like,
it was
oh, wait.
really
So,
yeah, so we
kind of
it was a hot mess. Like that.
And then the first couple of days transition, we didn't get food for like the first almost 72 hours
Oh my God.
because they were transitioning over to the Japanese government food from cruise food.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, anyone who thinks we were stuck on there for 14 days eating, fillets and medallions, no, that's not how it went. It was like the very clear, distinct line from when your vacation ended and now you in quarantine.
Yeah.
No, like right before so that morning that we were supposed to get off, they held us, instead of disembarking at 6, you knew something was wrong because they crafted this like last minute list of activities for people to do.
Okay.
There was nothing planned that day because we were all supposed to get off the ship. So there was like a impromptu bingo game and quiz shows to keep us occupied.
Mhm.
And then at 3, we were told, you must now go back to your staterooms and you're not getting out until everyone's been tested.
Okay.
All right. So we'll let you know at 6 a.m. in the morning. So 6 a.m. in the morning came and it's like, this is your captain. We now have been asked that you stay in your rooms for the next 14 days as you quarantine.
we're going to be working on seeing if we can get you guys on top of the ship to get fresh air for the internal cabins especially.
So that
But,
was, but
you
that
know,
didn't
so
happen for a
Basically,
while.
yeah, that took the first like 4 or 5 days. We weren't allowed to leave our rooms at all. And then after that, it was once every 3 days we're allowed to go out, get some fresh air for like 45 minutes or something like that.
Mhm. Like every couple of days.
Yeah, like once every
At
3
what point
days.
did they test you?
So we
We didn't get our test administered to us until the 18th of February.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
so it took
we were already 16 days in, but they were testing people that actually had symptoms first. You know, so we never had a fever or showed any symptoms of it.
And that was so messed up because, so on the 14th day when we were supposed to leave, like I'm all packed up, like standing by the door, like any day now. They're going to knock on the door, we're just going to leave. But unfortunately, we couldn't leave until we had a negative test. And so our results hadn't come in. So we had to stay that 15th day.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
That's crazy.
I panicked.
Yeah.
It was like 5 in the morning. I heard the paper shuffle on the door.
Mhm.
And it was just mine and his. And we have a 6-year-old that was with us.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what? And so I broke protocol. I opened the door and I just ran down the hall and I was like, where's my daughters? And he was like, oh, Susan. And I was like, heart attack. To think, like, what if we cleared and she didn't? Like, what?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that,
Mhm.
so we sat around and waited, and then finally
2 days later, they gave us a departure date. You know, so and then we had to get transported back here to Camp Zama. So the aviation battalion stepped up, got us a couple of TMPs. They drove it over, so I had to drive us back. To our quarantine house. So
And so you
Wow.
still had to quarantine when you
an
got back
additional
over here.
14 days. Yep.
Wow.
Even though we have a
Wow.
negative test in our hands.
Yeah.
Just coronavirus is so new that they didn't know what to do. So erring towards the size of caution.
So how I'm sorry, your mental state at that time, honestly,
the
like
boat wasn't, I wouldn't say as bad for me personally because every day they would bring the child care on the boat would bring Abby an activities bag and we'd be able to sit there and do little arts and crafts thing with the
Nice.
daughter.
okay.
So they kept her thoroughly entertained throughout that, and we knew it was the Japanese government that was keeping us on quarantine. So it's like, all right, well, nothing we can do about it. So
Right.
What type of stuff? How did y'all make the adjustments though? I mean, what was your daily routine like? Did you try to exercise? Did you watch TV? What was the things you did to kind of get through it?
So I was pretty adamant the whole time that to keep some kind of routine when you're in a space for that long. And I know other people have ROM since, and if we had known that was coming to us, 29 days of quarantine, we might have packed differently or come up with a plan. But I still kept a routine, so there was like a clear. The ship was easy because you had to wake up for your morning squares, and if you missed it, you missed it. And so around 7, by the time they got their stuff together, breakfast came at 7, so you had to go get it. The protocol was they knock on the door, everyone has a mask on, you have a quick exchange, you pull your tray in, you quickly shut the door. When you're done eating, you leave the tray on the ground by the door, and then they come back later and pick it up. So, so there was like a definitive breakfast, lunch, dinner, some kind of afternoon snack. The activity would come in the morning, and of course I did work out. Shout out to Beachbody. If you need my email or contact information for endorsements, I would be happy to provide that at the close of this. But I had my little app. So the ship, I mean, you can tell that, like, they just felt terrible for us. They gave us at that time the Diamond Princess opened up its bandwidth to be it had the largest bandwidth of any cruise ship like on Earth at that time. So everyone had just unlimited Wi-Fi. They opened their video library so we could watch like every new movie that was out there. So we were really thoroughly entertained. I'm going to shout out to room service for keeping up with the requests. So they made things go by. But once we got back here, the directive at the time was that the shared ventilation system was problematic, and we live in the tower, so we weren't able to go home. And I think mentally, like, I was solid on the ship. I think we kind of broke when we got here. It was like we had to have this like fortitude on the ship, like stay strong. This will end. We're gonna go home. But the decline really was when I think for me anyways, was when we saw the Americans leave. So on the 17th, 2 charter planes came from the States to pick up the Americans at the direction of the government.
Some 300 Americans that went back to the States. They asked us if we were going to go back to the States because we are Americans. It's like, well, I don't want to have to pay for a ticket back to Japan and then have to do it all over again, probably.
Right.
So we opted to stay on and get
It was
disembarked.
advice.
Yeah.
Your command advice, like, don't go to the States. You're almost at the home stretch. You can come back here. But there was some kind of, I don't know, sense of community where it's like, we're not, America, we're all here together, band together. And like just something about seeing their buses leave. And it's like, nope, it's just us now. The Lone Rangers.
Wow.
So I guess I gotta have a question. If y'all can be a little bit transparent and feel whatever you're comfortable with, from a relational perspective. I mean, you guys seem like a pretty tight unit. Was there some moments that you guys had that were challenging, just kind of dealing with each other, and not in a bad way, but I'm just saying, that's just a tough environment to be in.
Yeah, being trapped in the same room with
Trapped.
That's very indicative of how we felt.
Yeah, well, it's 11-foot by 22-foot room was how big our stateroom was, and being that close to somebody, it really lets you know how strong your marriage is. For one, that you weren't at each other's throats every day, and nobody got thrown off the balcony. So, and our daughter absolutely loved it because it was unlimited mommy and daddy time. So, just got to hang out with us for 29 days straight. Like every minute of every day.
I'll echo all those words, but I will say, if you're planning to go on a cruise with your family, just pay the upgrade. Get that extra space. Get that extra room. You're going to need it.
Wow.
I mean, it was, we're good about being like, I don't feel like talking. Like, it's not about, it's not against you. Like, I don't feel like talking. So there would be days when he would just like veg on the bed, watching TV, and I'm just over here like, just Facebooking, and that's cool. We don't need to have a conversation every day. We don't need to force anyone to talk. And I think that kind of helps if I think if we were trying to force each other to do more than what was required energy wise, that probably would have been a little worse. But
Yeah, good. How about your families? How about your families back in the States? How they you guys were front and center on this whole thing. How they take it?
Oh, they were excited that they got to see our cruise boat, but you know, other than that, they were worried about us, sending our thoughts and just asking how we're doing and what we know, because they'd have daily announcements from the captain, but it's like, oh, we figured that out at 5 a.m. from the news. Like we're getting the news quicker from news sources than we're actually getting notified on the boat.
Wow, that sounds like a deployment.
I know. It's like, oh look, 62 more people are sick, and then like hours later, 62 more. Like we knew that like 8 hours ago. No, my mom is a particularly worried person, and so I tried to shield her from this pain, and was gonna call her and let her know, like, by the way, I was on that ship. I'm not on that ship anymore, but my dad blew it. So
you let the cat out the bag early.
She kept calling. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, and at the same time, there was a ship quarantine in Italy.
Okay.
I was like, "I'm not on the ship in Italy. That's the one. That's the quarantine ship." But I, was trying to divert. And she's like, "Are you okay?" I am okay, and I am in Japan. I can see the bay. So, but then my dad, I guess, had to steal my thunder. And so she called, she's like, "I knew it. I knew you were on that ship. Like everything's fine. Nobody's sick." But everybody was just super worried.
Yeah.
Being that far away, and even if they were close, what can they do?
Yeah, it's normal. It's normal to worry. You know what I mean? Especially for your loved ones. Your daughter, how did she take it? Like, was she in the know that something was going on?
So yes, absolutely. And because we lived in the microcosm that was to be, she was prepared more, I'd say more than other kids maybe, because she was probably better than we were. Like, we were hanging on there by a thread at sometimes, but she was just like she just knew what to do. So I told her, we can't go outside anymore because there's a sickness that's going around, and so we have to stay inside the room until we're allowed to leave. And that was fine. That was it.
Okay.
So every morning, I had part of my routine was I'd wake up. I brought Clorox wipes with me, just intuitively, like, you should probably bring some kind of disinfectant. And fortunately, I had that. So every morning, I went down, wiped down all the door handles and our eating surfaces. I'd boil water and try to pour in our cups and boil our utensils that they bring us. I don't know if it worked or it helped, but it made me feel better.
And fortunately enough, we did bring our Brita filter with us, because they didn't give us water when we started quarantine for the first, I would say almost a week, before we finally got litered water. So we're relying on the ship water from the sink, which has a funny taste to it. Yeah. So that Brita filter actually helped out a lot with making the water taste a little bit more palatable.
Yeah, you guys were prepared for real.
That was child's play. Next time, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna have like Cavicide wipes with me. We're gonna bring our respirators, like goggles. Like,
can we talk a little bit about that? That's the interesting part, because me just seeing that myself, and I'm a big cruise guy. I was thinking never again, and you're saying next time. Can we talk about that?
So there is gonna be a next time then, huh?
I know. We're crazy.
But being on the ship for 29 days elevated us.
Yeah, we're like gold status now.
We get like free Wi-Fi and drink packages now, so they counted the whole time. So
we're not. I mean, it was at no fault of. It just happened to be a freakish time. We got briefed when we left. We were briefed on not getting typhoid in Vietnam. Okay. That was it. That was all the no. So it's not the cruise's fault. You just got to be wise, like whether on the cruise or not. If you look at, the cruise pictures, any super event that they had, like the dragon dance for Chinese New Year, happened on the ship. Like I was watching from afar, but everyone's like all clustered together. And even back then, before I knew anything, I really don't want to be that close to that many people. I don't know, you got a cold or what you got? I don't know. And so intuitively, I just didn't want to be in the crowds anyways. And moving forward, I would definitely not be in a crowd. We took extra precautions to make sure we were like super hygienic, wash our hands often, And again, it's not because it was the coronavirus, but if you go on a plane, you're most likely to get sick because there's other sick people around you, regardless of what it is. Mm-hmm. So we were just being real thorough, and again, not the cruise's fault. It just was the peak of a new thing that was happening. So I don't know if we go on another cruise. Peace be with y'all. I hope nothing crazy's coming back. But
Michael, what about you? You're going to go on another cruise?
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, like she said, it wasn't the cruise's fault that happened. You know, and I did really enjoy going to Vietnam and all the other places that we visited on that cruise. You know, I had a great time.
Yeah, it sounded like a pretty amazing itinerary for sure. We got probably about 7 minutes left and everything like that. So just in closure, can you give us some stuff that you took out of this experience that you feel like it's a positive or something, and maybe something that wasn't so positive, or something that maybe some advice you could give to someone else who was getting on kind of in the same situation?
The main advice is always book a room with a balcony.
I imagine that was
yeah.
Always. I don't know. It's real weird because it happened to us so early, and it happened in a really strange way, like on a cruise ship, and so it felt kind of surreal when it was waving through Zama, like kind of it just felt normal, like business as usual. Like, oh, we're not allowed to go anywhere. Well, we're not allowed to go anywhere in January, so let's back it up. I think I stress this as part of what I did for my job as well, but self-care, like keeping that routine and keeping whatever structure you can. Like I said, when we came back here, when we didn't have that structure of like somebody waking us up for breakfast anymore, that's when we got loopy, was when we lost the structure. Yes, you're stuck in your room or whatever for 14 days. Make sure you do what you're supposed to do. Go brush your teeth, take a shower, put on some fresh clothes. Like all those things are, you get off the video game and go do something different, because
get your day started. Otherwise, you don't have a day.
Yeah, it's just it can be an endless loop of the continuous insomniac day, and then you start, and that's when your mental state becomes fragile. Is when you stop fortifying yourself with that self-care and that structure and normalcy. So that would be kind of the advice. The positive thing is, I haven't been able to stay home with my kid since she was born, and so this was like a silver lining, was that for the first time in 5 years we all ate lunch together, or
that's awesome,
do things together, and without being able to go off base and do stuff, we were had some extra family time.
Well, I'm so inspired. Just listening to you guys talk, I feel like I'm with some celebrities and everything.
Yeah, right,
so
right.
I'm feeling a little starstruck right now.
Can I get your autograph before you leave?
You guys are kind of big deal. I want to take a selfie. We can put our mask on, but it's kind of cool. But thank you. Gosh, I feel like this is such a gift that just kind of landed in our lap, and not to get into what we did, but I'm sure we'll do some more of these podcasts and have you guys come and chat, and not just about this, about wellness and a lot of other different things, because you are kind of a big deal around that. You guys are kind of special, So with that being said, though, we just thank you for your time, and thank you for your candidness and just being open and being transparent, because I think it's going to help some people. It's going to help. It helped me. I know that. I'm just hearing the story, and I might take another cruise at some point. You talked me off the cliff.
Just bring the outside and the respirators, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah.
So I'll have to shout out back to ACS. So when we went to the house that we stayed in was an empty house. It was just a vacated house. So we survived off the ACS loaner kit.
Yep.
All right.
So
okay.
That's how we lived for those 14 days. So shout out, thank you.
And thanks to the Red Cross also, because they got us some donations for food for the 2 weeks that we were in quarantine as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier, is how the Zama community just really came together and just did an awesome job. Even through all this, I think nobody thought it was going to be a year. I mean, even back then, we thought this thing was going to be over by the summertime.
You were right.
Yeah, look at us now, and I don't know if Cindy has anything, but I'm good.
No, this is amazing, and I am so grateful that you guys stopped by. I am very grateful. Camp Zama, Shannon, and Michael. You know, their story very inspirational. And like Darren said, it uplifted me because sometimes we just go through our normal rigmarole where we don't realize other people had it so much more different and difficult than we did. You know what I mean? So I didn't know that you guys were going through all that, and while I'm over here at home, you know what I mean, just chilling, because they say just go home because, we have to be on admin leave, but you had a whole nother area that you guys were going through. So thank you. Well, Camp Zama, that was our special feature. It is not Wednesdays with Darren and Cindy, but today is Friday. But we had our guests today, Shannon and Michael, with us. And we just want to say thank you for listening to our 100% real life topics. And we will see you next week.